Hi guys, and welcome back to Pass Move. And for today's episode, we're going to be getting things kicked off with FM19, and the first team that we're going to be going for is Manchester United. It's just a beta mode save, really. Afterwards, we'll be doing some more interesting teams to take over. But Manchester United, of course, are a bit interesting in themselves. I mean, they are a giant in the Premier League and a giant in European football in general. But it's all about trying to restore them to their former glory. So I think in FM19, it's a little bit more difficult to do than it is in FM18, and I'll explain in just a second. But we'll quickly go through some things I've done. Already gone through pre-season. We can have a quick look at pre-season, to be honest. So these are the results. Different months now. They've sort of changed the way the schedule works. They've separated it by months, but it's kind of, a bit better to see it like this. But anyways, initially started with a loss to Basel, which made me question the tactics initially, but I stuck through with it. Got a couple of wins against some smaller sides. Also, nice win against AC Milan as well. I mean, you'd argue that we should be beating them, but not probably by 3-0, I guess. And then Bayern was a 1-1 draw, which they were apparently lucky to draw according to the FM commentator, whatever. But either way, so really in terms of transfers, not really made any or too many signings, to be honest. Just one signing. So let's have a quick look at the squad. We can go through everything in detail as the save goes on, rather than doing a whole episode about it. But yeah, this is essentially my first choice starting 11, excluding Herrera. We know we want Matic to be there, but otherwise that's our first choice here. So we've got De Gea, Young, Lindelof. By Sandro is essentially the new signing, which is what I was talking about. He's the only signing we've made. Costed quite a chunk of money, but he is a top left back, and it was an area that we needed to go for. And as you can probably tell from the positions, we are playing a 4-4-2 diamond. I felt it suited United best. You can definitely probably go for a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3. In FM18, I went for a 4-3-3, and that had some decent results. But I think in FM19, it just seemed to make sense to use this formation to try and get the best out of my players. A partnership of Lukaku and Sanchez should be deadly, and Lingard in behind them. Pogba and Fred, of course, in comfortable roles in central mid. And we've got Matic in defensive midfield and Herrera as his backup. So if we go through each position individually, I don't like having three goalkeepers. So I'm eventually going to move on either Grant or Romero. But at the moment, Romero's injured and Grant is just brought in, so I can't sell him off. It's, because of the system, how the transfer window works now, it ends just before the first game of the season. So I can't make any changes now. But anyway, David De Gea, obviously our first choice. We've got Young and Valencia at right back. If you're wondering where Dalot is, I send him down to the under-23s because he is just a championship player. I tried to send him out on loan, but hasn't worked out because he's got an injury. No one wants to really pick him up yet. Hopefully later on I can get rid of him in terms of just loaning him out. Next season he can come back as a Premier League player and we can try and improve it. So whenever I try to improve my first team, whenever I try to improve my squad, I try to improve my first team first and then the backup options, which is why I went for Sandro, even though we have Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw's a capable player. He's a good player for most Premier League sides, and then he's going to eventually be a leading player. But at the moment, he's not a leading player, which is why I addressed the left back spot first. It was also because we didn't have two left backs. I like to have two players per position. So unfortunately, Shaw has been demoted to the rotational option, and Sandro is our main man in the left back spot. Young is the main man on the right back spot. Not the ideal situation at all. We're going to improve that next. I like to build from the back. So obviously David De Gea is a top goalkeeper. I don't need to improve him. I went with left back for Sandro, and eventually when I do have the money or the funds, I'll improve the right back spot and then the centre back spots and so on and so forth. But it was a good idea anyways to give the centre backs a season's worth of time to improve. And hopefully they can develop. So we've gone with Lindelof, Bailly, Smalling, Jones, Rojo we're trying to get rid of, but at the moment he's injured, so it's difficult. Probably have to wait till the next transfer window because, I don't need 5 centre-backs, I just have 4. First choice will be Bailly and Lindelof. Bailly has a bit of potential, so it made sense to go for him. Lindelof is also got a bit of potential, so we're sticking with these two, and hopefully they'll develop into top Premier League players because at the moment they aren't. Bailly is actually a leading player, to be fair, but it is Lindelof who's only just good, and we need him to be leading as soon as possible. And then, in central midfield, Fred, Pogba, Matic, like we mentioned, and the backups are Herrera, Fellaini, Mata as well as a backup, believe it or not, and Pereira. Now, I had the choice between going for Lingard or Mata as, the first choice. I went for Lingard because I thought he could develop a bit more, and Lingard suited our tactics in terms of him being a shadow striker. Mata's not necessarily so much of a shadow striker. He can definitely do the role, which is why he's still going to play in that system. But I thought Lingard could do could improve, and it just made sense to go for him because apparently in FM19, Mata is just a good player for most Premier League sides, and this is why I'm saying they kind of weakened Manchester United a bit. I think they made it more fair, but with some players like Mata, I don't think it was fair for him to be demoted to a good player. I think he's still definitely a leading or even no, not star, but leading player for most Premier League sides. They've also demoted Matic, who's no longer a leading defensive midfielder in the league. He's a good defensive midfielder, so we'll need to improve in that department. We have to pretty much improve in several departments. We need one centre-back in Lindelof. We need a right-back. If Lindelof doesn't develop, we need a right-back because obviously Valencia and Young aren't good enough. We already improved left-back spot. We need a defensive midfielder. Fred, if he manages to reach his potential as well, which is why we went for him, then that means we don't need to improve that spot. But if after the season he doesn't, then we need someone to partner Pogba. Pogba's obviously good enough as well. Lingard's not leading yet, but he can develop into leading like I mentioned. So if he doesn't, then we need another attacking midfielder. And the striking spots are obviously, the most perfect ones. So I went for 4-4-2 diamond instead of a 4-2-3-1. My preferred formation is a 4-2-3-1. I had a lot of success with it, but I just thought it just seemed to make sense. Rashford, we don't really have proper wingers. We have players who aren't wingers playing in the wing positions, which is what Manchester United are doing in real life now as well. Martial, Rashford, Lukaku and Sanchez, we have these three here who are actually really are strikers and not wingers, and Mata as well. It would be better to make use of him in an attacking midfield spot instead of the right wing spot. Of course, later on down the line, if these tactics don't work out, then I'll probably switch to the 4-2-3-1 formation. Doesn't make sense to go for a 4-3-3, to be honest, and that's pretty much it. So I think that covers the players and what we need to improve. I think I can show you the tactics now. I've gone for something really simple. They've changed the tactic system, or the way they've done it, and I just went for custom style, just shorter passing when we're in possession and an offside trap when we're not in possession. In transition, there's nothing major. I haven't touched anything, and obviously just a positive, or what used to be the control mentality. We have a couple backup tactics, but I think this should do the job most of the time. We've also told our deep line playmaker to close down a bit less, and we've asked Fred to tackle a bit harder, so there's someone in midfield who's doing the dirty work. Now, obviously, when you look at this tactic, it's fairly solid, defensively and attacking wise, but there is two main things that stand out, and they're fairly obvious what they are. It's Fred and Lukaku. Lukaku's a target man, which doesn't help when you're trying to play short passing play, but it is the best way to get out of him. If I don't feel like he's doing well in the system as a target man, we'll just switch him to complete forward, which he's capable of. He's just lacking in a couple of things like agility, vision and passing. It's pretty much just vision and passing, I think, that are the essentials maybe. And then Fred and Pogba are playing very similar roles. If I feel like that's not good enough, then I'll change. I think Pogba would be a bit better as a roaming playmaker rather than Fred, and that way it'll be a bit more balanced. We can also change them into attack duties when necessary, when we're trying to win the game. But otherwise, I think overall it's a decent enough tactic to cause some damage, and I think pre-season went fairly well. But obviously, competitive game time is very different. The training, I haven't really done anything to it. I left it to my assistant manager because I don't understand the new system yet. Maybe when I understand a bit more, then I'll know how to work things around. But I think my assistant's doing okay because everyone's happy and they're performing well in training. My scouts are doing the usual business. I don't think, these things can be covered later. The Scott McTominay is in the under-23s as well because he's only championship level according to the game. Sent him out on loan as well. We're just hoping for Diogo Dalot to return from his injury so I can send him on. But just so you can see, he's got plenty of potential. I really do want to play him as soon as possible. He is a complete wing-back, so he suits our system. But it's just about him developing into a Premier League player before I move him into the first team squad. But anyways, we want to get into today's game. Hopefully we get to see some good play. Manchester City have already won their game. We're going to have to go with this starting 11. I left the friendlies to my assistant manager, and he didn't play some of the players I thought would be first teamers. He, preferred Shaw and Pereira, for example. Gave plenty of game time to Mata and Martial instead of Lukaku. Things like that. But anyways, I think we can go ahead and get into it. You can pause the screen if you want and have a look at the tactics. I thought Sanchez probably best as an inside forward. But it would suit the system so much more if he's an advanced forward, and he's equally as good in advanced forward to the inside forward. A very small difference. You can honestly play him in either one. I think inside forward is just because his vision of passing is made use of a bit more than it is as an advanced forward. He still makes use of his passing, but not so much his vision. But again, overall team doesn't really have wingers, so it'd pretty much just be Sanchez. We'd be playing Martial and Rashford. kind of our position. It's not such a big difference, but I just want to see whether I can get the best out of this team. Playing a shorter passing in the 4-4-2 diamond, narrow diamond formation. We should see plenty of passing movement, which is what we're looking for. 4-2-3-1, you can definitely get that kind of play as well, but since the players are closer here to each other and the midfield is very strong, we should be okay. It should see better movement, I suppose. But anyways, let's just get into it. Playing Cardiff for the first game. So how I'm going to do the videos is pretty much how I've always done the videos, which is one key fixture per month. So in August, there's definitely a huge game in Chelsea, but before this one, we just want to kick off the season with a game against Cardiff. In September, we can go ahead and decide later on which games are more key. But at the moment, let's get things going against Cardiff. I'm sure we're going to get plenty of opportunities to play against... sorry about that. Against Chelsea. I forgot that it was actually set on... how do I do this? Can't I? Okay, can I change preferences quickly? Where's the audio? Nope. God, that nearly gave me a heart attack. I'm sorry about that if it gave anyone else a heart attack. Alright, thank God that's finally done and dealt with. Team talk. Okay, let's see what we can tell them. We're definitely the favourites. We're at home, so we should be expecting our players to win. And I'll go for that team talk. I like to have a mix in my saves of replays on director, and let's see, how do we change it here? Have they no, not like that. Okay, so they did move back. Yeah, so we're gonna have a 2D look. We're gonna have it on, we'll keep it on extended highlights. We'd want them between highlights as quick as possible, and then replays on director, and hopefully my laptop can handle that type of speed. Alright then. This is a bit laggy, but I'll sort that out for future videos. At the moment, we're just going to have to deal with it. And let's have McGuinness's feedback. Oh, I've completely overhauled the staff as well. So here you go. We've got Lingard playing it forward to the advanced forward Alexis Sanchez, who can hopefully grab a bunch of goals on his debut. He's pretty much killing it by himself, but can he score? Smithies deals with that fairly easily, really. I've also changed my set pieces to pretty much include everyone in the box except for two left backs or the two full backs. I'm not sure why. It's probably because Young's taken it, but there should be two of them back here. But yeah, that was looks like it works at least initially. And then we want to see Cardiff's formation to see if they make any changes. So at the moment they're playing relatively defensively. We have to do well to break them down. Hopefully the formation can allow us. Fred gets a head in, but Lukaku's picking up pieces. Pogba, can you score? He was honestly playing Pogba as an advance. Oh, there you go, Young high up the pitch. Can he deliver across on the byline though? That's what we're looking for. Sanchez, yes, that's exactly the type of play that we want from our fullback. And of course the advance forward as well, getting into good goal scoring position. Advance forward is essentially a more well-rounded poacher. That's pretty much it. They just do a bit more than a poacher, and that's it. And that's why I love poachers, to be honest, because all they do is focus on goals. But what a ball from Young, and you'd argue the goalkeeper could do a bit better there. But either way, 1-0 against Cardiff and a decent start to our season. What was I talking about? I completely forgot now. But yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of the squad is relatively weak. It's much more different to FM19. So David De Gea, Bailly, Sandro, who I bought in. So let's assume Sandro wasn't even there. So De Gea, Bailly, Pogba, Lukaku and Sanchez are pretty much the only starting 11 players who are top. In FM18 you had a bit better, you know, Matic, Herrera, who else was there? Matic, Herrera, Mata. They were all leading players for the division, and it made things a bit easier to deal with. Once I have the funds, I definitely will be improving this first team squad unless they develop. I'm hoping Lindelof will develop so I don't have to spend too much money on a first team centre back. Definitely the right back spots will have to be invested in, buy a top right back and then move on, probably either Valencia or Young. Ooh, that's a close one from a set piece. Young's delivery is incredible. I need to maybe try and make sure that someone else sits back with Alexandro, but he seems to be dealing with it fairly well. And play goes on, so maybe he can still score. Looks like the Fred and Pogba partnership isn't an issue, both of them being advanced playmakers, and Lukaku's a target man, but no one's really too tempted to play the ball, hoof it forward to him. But definitely what suits our overall system or style of play, the type of football we're trying to play, is a complete forward on support. That's what we're looking for and aiming for. And then obviously in the central midfield, advanced playmaker works, but we're looking for more of a ball-winning midfielder, maybe roaming playmaker or box-to-box midfielder type of roles, that kind of stuff. Plenty of roaming movement is essentially what we're looking for, because what we're trying to play is a pass and move type of football. And you obviously need creative players for that, ball-playing players who take risks, and of course roaming. Roaming is very important. Roaming or movement into the channels, which is what Sanchez does as an advanced forward. Whereas, with the target man, they don't dribble a lot. They're relatively static, I suppose, but it really was the best way to get the best out of Lukaku, whose attributes suit the target man role so well. Again, can do the complete forward role, just maybe not as well as someone who's a bit more natural in it. I think Manchester United in real life are trying to force Lukaku into being a complete forward, and he's kind of struggling with that a little bit, and he's more of a traditional target man, I suppose. I think Belgium are definitely doing better in terms of trying to make him a complete forward. He definitely does more all-round play for them. But I think that is a bit of a tactic thing. So Pogba's kind of looking for Alexandro to drop in, but he wasn't dropping back. Young, very high up the pitch, and wins the ball well. Early ball to Lukaku. And the target man could probably do better there, because he's expected to win that header and get it on target as well, or actually convert, really. So it looks like we're doing fairly well. Cardiff not even having a single shot, but we can't get too carried away just yet. The players do have to adjust to the tactics a bit more. And of course, Cardiff are the Premier League newcomers. Lukaku again should be scoring. He is struggling a little bit in this game. So Martial and Rashford are both also not complete forwards. We'll be looking to play them as advanced forward. It seems to make the most sense for them. They don't have too much hold-up play, build-up play, that type of stuff. They're more finishers. So whenever we take off, Lukaku or Sanchez, we'll move the other one into the support role. Sanchez can play as a complete forward as well if needed. And then we can move... Ooh, Sanchez should have grabbed a brace there. And, we'll move Rashford or Martial into the advanced forward role. So, Lingard's struggling in the shadow striker role. I guess it's a bit to do with his fitness, but he has, I guess, had a bit of a poor game. Overall, we haven't been too inspiring. Good enough to get by, but not good enough. So we'll take off Lingard, leave Lukaku on. Fred, maybe we'll substitute him a little bit later on, and we'll just leave things as is. But yeah, I mean, if you ask me where I think we can finish, I think Champions League football is the best we can aim for. I'll be a bit surprised if we manage to win the league with a squad that hasn't fully gelled and not used to the tactical forces of the first season. And of course, finally, the whole not enough quality thing. Oh, Pogba, a really good shot. Can Sanchez get on it? Oh, he should be reacting a bit better there. But yeah, I mean, Pogba's definitely his best role as an advanced playmaker. He can do the roaming playmaker role really well. He's got the physical ability for it. In comparison to Fred, maybe he doesn't have too much strength. And then, can probably play Pogba as a Mezzala as well if we wanted to, things like that. But yeah, you know what? We could probably change both of them to attacking duties, and they would still might be able to see a bit more penetration, I suppose. We'll take off Fred for the backup, I think. Both Pereira and Fellaini are the backup midfielders. So that's 4 now. Let's bring on... I want to bring on Pereira, but he's an advanced playmaker as well. So I'm going to move... bring on Fellaini as a box-to-box midfielder. It's apparently his best role, and I agree with it. He can play as a ball-winning midfielder, which is what we actually need, so we don't have to have that custom tackle harder instruction. But as a box-to-box midfielder, he should do well as well. I think he's a bit better in that role. He can be a menace in both boxes, so to speak. And we'll save our next substitution for a little later on in the line. But we do need to grab a second. Not that Cardiff have looked dangerous, but all it takes is one chance. So you see how Mata drops deep there? That isn't the mark of a traditional or a more natural shadow striker, but he did get into the box like a shadow striker and should have converted. He had 2 chances there, and it should be 2-0 really. Kind of disappointed with our finishing, but yeah, another chance for Young. Good delivery as always. Lukaku And he's pretty much begging to be taken off. So other than the early goal we scored within 6 minutes, we haven't been able to convert chances. Herrera with a good ball to Lukaku, back to Herrera. Just need to get the cross, and really there's enough bodies in the box. Young eventually does it, but easy for Smithies, and maybe Cardiff will be looking to get their first shot away. Yeah, look at this little combo here that we have in the combo in midfield, who are, protecting our defence. Relatively weak defence, but thankfully we got Sandro in. He should help from the fullback spots. Young is a better complete wing back than Antonio Valencia, which is why I went for him. Valencia is more of a traditional fullback, and Young is showing him exactly how to play. But again, Lukaku struggling to convert. He's had a poor game for sure. Look at that, 6.4. We're going to have to take him off for Martial as we look for the winner. I don't think I want to take off Pogba. He's had a decent game, nothing special, but not bad enough to be taken off in comparison to Lukaku. Sanchez, you'd say 6.9 is kind of unfair because he's been lively. He could probably have had 2 or 3, but I guess just a solid performance will do. Bailly picking up the pieces, spreads it to Pogba. What can he do? Sanchez, Mata, can he convert? Right, the keeper again. I don't know what's wrong with my players. So we're doing everything well, moving off the ball well. There's plenty of good movement, passing, all that sort of business. It's just about the final piece, and that probably has a bit more to do with fitness and getting used to the tactics than it is with anything else. So, taking off Lukaku, moving Sanchez into complete forward support role, and Martial's advanced forward, and hopefully the Frenchman can grab us a second, potentially even a third, because we do need to see off this game. Cardiff are letting loose with the shackles a bit. There's 4-1-4-1 still, but they're not playing defensively anymore. This is why I love seeing the formation of opposition team, because you can see as they make changes. They have a set piece here. Don't tell me they convert. Oh my god, oh my god. Oh my god, thank god. I've seen that happen so much in FM19 that I almost lost my head. Look at that, that's the first shot of the game in the 85th minute, and it almost would have been 1-1, and my players have had 23 shots, just 6 on target, which is kind of poor. But definitely, if we have a look at the stats, after in the game we'll have a look, you probably think that we'd had at least 3 clear-cut chances. So there's one more chance that's going to be squeezed in by the looks of it before the game ends. It might actually fall Cardiff's way. No, Fellaini wins it well. Mata, can he find Martial? Instead, he's dribbling all the way himself. Sanchez, I guess that's a shot, but apparently it's a cross for Martial. Sandro's there. Can he deliver a good ball? Is he going to shoot? He does shoot, and he scores on his debut. The left back, and this is why you play complete wing backs with no one ahead of them, because they get so far forward. I mean, you can definitely play a complete wing back with a winger ahead of them, but they're really at their best when they're by themselves on the wing, and Sandro would never get this far forward probably as a left back, complete wing back in the if a winger was ahead of him. So there you go, 2-0 win at home. Decent start to the Premier League. We're gonna have to seriously kick it up a notch. There's still another set piece for. Oh, again could have converted. I keep thinking they're Leicester, but it is Cardiff, and can't get carried away, but 3 points nonetheless. Good way to start the season, and we just have to keep it up in the future performances. I need to sort out the little bit of a lag in the game. It's probably my laptop being a bit slow. If anyone's got any advice about how to, because this is a Mac in the end of the day, so they're not exactly made for gaming, but I don't really have much of a choice other than to record it on the Mac, so but yeah, 2-0. So let's have a look quickly at the analysis. I want to have a look the clear-cut chances. How many do we create? So scoring chances, just 2 apparently. I just want to see United's. So 2 clear-cut chances, 2 half chances. I think the game's a bit wrong, but yeah, 9. I think number 9, is that Lukaku, or wait, what's it say? Yeah, it is Lukaku. So Lukaku had 2 clear-cut chances. Oh no, 1 clear-cut chance, sorry, and 2 half chances. This is on Sanchez, who converted on the 6th minute. But really, I think we should grab more just by the look of it. So let's go to the dressing room, compliment the players. We don't want to get too carried away. It's a decent performance. Just a good win will do. And we move on. So yeah, obviously by next month there should be in the game. There should be Champions League football, couple of cup competitions coming along. Not the FA Cup actually, just the Carabao Cup and the Champions League really. And that should see some more game time. And yeah, I mean, I'd love to play Rashford and Martial all the time, but the truth is, I'm not leading players just yet. They're gonna have to deal with that rotational role. So I obviously completely overhauled my staff as well. Signed as many as I can in each department. I also handed everyone that I deemed worthy new contracts. Maybe not my staff, but in terms of my whole squad really. The first team squad, the under 23s and under 18s. I only had a problem with 2 players, and I can't remember which one was in the second, but one of them was Martial, who wasn't necessarily happy with being a rotational player. I don't think it was the role, it was more so the money, but he wants first team player money when he's really just a rotational player. So I couldn't agree with him. His contract runs out next year, so I have to try and get that wrapped up quickly. But at the moment, I'm not worried. I think eventually he will sign. And there was another person who was a bit unhappy with something very similar, really. But anyways, we have to try and keep this performance up and try and keep things going so that we can get Champions League football. Just to give you an idea of what they think we're going to get. So season preview, they think Manchester City are going to win. We're going to end in 4th place. Tottenham and Arsenal are apparently the ones who are going to fall out. We can give you a quick overlook at what happened over the transfer window. Okay, let's not do that. Let's stay here. So major ones are obviously Sandro, who's a big one. Manchester City spent a fair amount of money as well, bringing in Weigl and Guerrero from Borussia Dortmund. So they stole 2 players. Tottenham made a decent acquisition. Actually, I don't even know decent or not. I don't even know him, to be honest with you. From Shakhtar. What I meant is they spent decent money as well. So yeah, everyone's just waiting for the real money to come in next summer, but ourselves and Manchester City are the ones to spend. I mean, I've only spent it on 1 player, to be fair, but I felt Sandro was a perfect acquisition. He kind of already, he needs to go a bit further on to redeem it, but starting the way he started, look at that. That's as good as it gets as a complete wing back. And yeah, obviously Juventus weren't going to sell him for cheap, so I just went all out for him, and we're going to have to keep bringing in top players like him to convert ourselves into Premier League winners. Hopefully we can do enough to get Champions League football this season, and next season we win the league, but if we can do it this season, I'm not going to complain, of course. And that's pretty much it. So I think we can look ahead. So in terms of what we'll be doing next episode, another game, of course, we've got Newcastle, Southampton and Brighton. There's going to be one Champions League game here as well that we don't know about. But really it's too early to tell which game is going to be crucial. But I would argue an away game to Southampton might be difficult. But we can also show probably the first Champions League game would be a nice one to show. And then we can move along to October, where you say that we'll be showing you Arsenal away. Manchester City at home should be a pretty good game too. But I think being away from home is more tough, and the way Arsenal played in real life, I think that would be reflected a bit in FM19 as well. Still the beta, so everything's still being adjusted accordingly. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So if you did enjoy today's episode, of course, please do hit the like button and subscribe if you are new. Of course, everyone knows about the YouTube, the little updates they've done lately where you can't really see the people's that you're subscribed to their videos consistently unless you have your notifications on for them. So obviously please do that as well, and thank you all for watching.